Something I've been wanting to do for a while now is put together a medical binder for my son. This could be stuff from just daily care all the way to lab reports and diagnoses and all of those kind of things all together in one place. Since having a special needs child, you know you have a ton of those kind of things, and I had them piled up in different piles and different binders, and I really wanted to put them all together in one place where I know where they all were. So I have taken the steps to start doing that. I have behind me pretty much all the medical papers laid out, divided into specialty. I've taken the liberty to already go ahead and print out all the labels that I'm going to need for my binder, and I'm going to kind of walk you through the steps on what to do and how to put together a binder that is going to be organized. That being said, like I say with every video, every child is different, so my binder is going to look different than your binder, and it kind of just takes a little bit to get used to as well. I'm sure I'm going to be adding pages, taking away pages, and so on and so forth until I get kind of the right fit for, you know, our lives and what we're doing. So it's going to still even be a learning curve after today, and after I put together the binder today, it's still going to be, you know, something that I'm going to have to work towards to get it perfectly right. So let's get started. Doing a medical binder like this is a huge project. Like I said, all of the papers cover up pretty much my whole entire dining room table. I had no idea where to begin. I went to Pinterest and read articles. I also asked a bunch of moms on my Facebook groups what they had done and things that they had found that worked. Someone recommended the Kangaroo Kids pouch. Now what that is actually a binder someone has put together, and it actually has different tabs, all the different forms, just to give you a really good head start. They include logs, they have the plastic filler sheets here, and the Kangaroo Kids is a non-profit organization. The story behind it is so cool. It all comes from these 3 kids that saw their aunt struggle when their cousin was diagnosed with Down syndrome. They saw their aunt taking their cousin to all these appointments, having all these kind of different medical paperwork, and they created a binder to help her out and thought that they could help other people out too. And let me tell you, they are here helping me out because I had no idea where to begin. So like I said, everybody's different, and this binder didn't completely work for me, and I made some adjustments to fit more of my lifestyle. But the bones of this binder is absolutely perfect and definitely what I'm going with. So to begin, just to walk you through this binder, the pouch from Kangaroo Kids, pretty awesome. Inside it's got a nice little tab here with a folder where you can put different things in there. A description, like what I told you, but just more in detail. I kind of ran through a quick synopsis of it. It came with a table of contents. Now this is where I did a little bit of adjustments for me because there are things that were in this binder that I won't necessarily use. There's an infusion log, which is not something that we have to deal with, and so I kind of rearrange things and move things around to be more fitting to our lifestyle and what we need. But they did give you even a blank one on the back because they know that you might have to adjust things, so that's exactly what I did. I am such an OCD person, I didn't even want to have this on the back of it, so I scanned my own. They also, inside the binder, recommend you make copies of the logs that they give you. Now what I'm going to do in my personal case is go through and on the last page put in a post-it note where it says, make copy now, so I know not to use the last sheet and make a copy before I even go past the last sheet. So what I'm going to start doing here is going through my table of contents and putting my labels down where I need them. I've already done the labels that I'm going to put throughout this binder. Here are the ones for my table of contents. This is the one that they recommended calling daily living. I've kind of made it daily living plus some. I've added a little bit of extra things here and there. What they have had on their sheet that they recommended you do is all about me, emergency information, appointment calendar, daily log, infusion log, therapy log, insurance call log, sleep and overnight care, other resources, questions, and notes. So I'm going to start by putting my labels where I need them, customized to what we need them for. So I have realized I printed out the wrong name for one of the labels. So what I'm going to do is get my handy dandy label maker that I've had ever since graduating college a number of years ago. Probably one of the best gifts I've ever gotten in my adult years. Anyone that knows me knows how much I love to label. So I'm just going to real quick print out the one I need. Now you don't necessarily have to use a label maker if you don't have a label maker. I of course have one because, as I said, I love to label. You can just write down on tabs if you choose to. You can not write on the tabs. In the binder that they had given me, they just have numbers and it corresponds with the table of contents. That's absolutely fine as well. It is all personal preference and what you prefer, what you like. One thing I'm adding in here above the sleep and overnight care, since I took one of the ones that was already in here out, is I am putting in just a basic care information tab. So we have from pediatricians and hospitals and all the other places we've gone, just kind of, you know, CPR forms and how to dose Tylenol, things like that that are good to have around but don't necessarily fit in the other categories. It's just basic care instructions, and that's something I definitely want to have in here. If anyone else is watching my son, I want them to have all the information they need to make sure he is safe, and that is something that is very important and needs to be very handy. So here is my updated table of contents for daily living plus some. They came out with 10 things that they put on their list. I ended up only with 9. I have left a blank space here. I did leave it in the middle because I feel like the question and notes that kind of needs to be at the end. So I left a blank one for whenever I feel like I need to add something. I'm sure as soon as I start living with the system, I'll have to change things around. So I'm going to go ahead and slip that in the plastic sleeve that they have already given to me. So now what I'm going to go do is I'm going to label the corresponding tabs with whatever the table of contents is. Now, like I said, you don't necessarily have to go through and label. They have already provided tabs with numbers on them here. I prefer having them written out. That's just the style I like. That's something I've tweaked with the binder that they have provided. I think they do that more so too. If you do want to change it, there's the ability to. If they left it just with the words, it would be harder to cover. So I'm going to just go ahead and go through and do that. Again, I already have my labels printed out here. One thing I would suggest from starting at the beginning of this project is getting yourself some kind of trash receptacle. I'm starting to get a nice little pile of little paper pieces here that if the right gust of wind came by, they would be all over my floor. So to save me from that, I'm going to run and get a garbage can and then get back to my project. Good to go. So one of the categories on here is called Other Resources. Now that could be pretty much anything. It's just any other resource that you have. I do have several, and for that it's almost like I need a subcategory kind of label system there. So I did go and purchase some traditional tabs which by the way, you can get these at the dollar store if you can't find them cheaper for $1. I would highly recommend getting them at the dollar store. So cheap, so awesome. So I'm going to use this for, we go through our early intervention system, so that way we have our insurance and any other kind of financial assistance you may get, anything like that could definitely be put into the other resources category, that I would recommend having a subcategory tab or a label for them. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I've already again printed out those labels, so I'm just going to put those things together. I am choosing to organize my subcategory labels by alphabetical order. That's definitely not what you need to do. You can do by how often you think you'll use them, alphabetical order, pretty much any order you want to do. I always prefer alphabetical because that's just the crazy person I am. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So there's that. Now I've labeled all my first section. I have put together the table of contents for my first section. And now it's time to go to what they have called historical information. Now this is more of the medical kind of thing. Again, they included their own little table of contents with a blank one on the back. I did go ahead and I scanned and printed out my own blank one with nothing on the back because I'm a crazy person and I don't want to see anything on the back when I go to flip the page. So it's creating more work for myself, but that's kind of my MO, and it's what I do with every project. So again, I have the labels printed, and I'm going to go through and put the labels on for my table of contents. So this is one I matched pretty much exactly to what they had suggested already. I just wanted to make sure it matched my first table of contents, so I did it all again myself. So this one is going into the sleeve and ready to go. So now that I've done my table of contents, it is now time to go through and to put the labels on all my individual tabs. So two sections in this back part of the binder that are really important, especially in our life and what we do on a daily basis, is the physician information and therapist information. My son goes to several specialists and several therapists, and I wanted to again do subcategories per specialist and per therapist for anything that they might give us that could benefit us and we need to know. I want to keep it separated by specialty. Again, I'm going to organize those alphabetically. But that doesn't mean you have to do that. It doesn't even mean you necessarily have to go as far as putting them in separate tabs. I definitely prefer to do that. Inside of this binder, they do give pretty awesome sheets on what kind of information you're going to want to have on hand, not just for you, but how many times have we gone to specialists and they've asked, you know, what's their PCP's information or other kind of specialist information. It's so great to have it on hand right here, and that is something they have provided from Kangaroo Kids for me in this pouch, which is super awesome. I'm going to go one step further and then put those separate tabs in by specialty and then have this information sheet as almost like the cover sheet. So I'm going to start that now. Of course, I forgot a specialist when I was initially making my labels, so I'm just going to real quick print up one for the tab to make sure that we have all of his specialists all organized and all there. So now I am going to do the next set of therapy tabs to do my sub-tabs here. Quick hack. I have the bottom half of the tabs left, flip them upside down, and now I have the top half, and I can start all over. So I I am missing just one tab. I have 2 more therapies and only 1 more tab left. So in our lifestyle, I have the ability to combine the speech and feeding therapy because they go hand in hand. They're the same therapist, and we don't see feeding as much as we see speech. So it's kind of like a subcategory for us for the feeding. So I'm going to just print up a new label and combine those two. So now that that's been done, it is now time to put all the paperwork where it belongs in the binder. Now this is definitely going to be a time-consuming part, just making sure that everything is organized. I also say take this opportunity to weed through your papers and see if you can get rid of any. One of the many piles I have on my table is a trash or shred pile. I would not recommend putting sensitive information like health information or anything with social security number in the trash can. I would recommend definitely shredding that. You don't want that to get in the wrong hands of any kind. I might be overly paranoid, but that's at least how I feel. So take the opportunity as you're going through all your stuff to get rid of the papers that you might not need. So now it's the fun part of organizing everything. I have read in one of the many articles I read prepping for this, I read that it is a good idea to place all those, place all those documents into these plastic sheet protectors here. Again, got these at the dollar store. You can find them just about anywhere where there's any kind of office supplies. These are always a good thing to have on hand anyway. I use them, my husband uses them, my parents use them, we borrow them back and forth from each other. So these are definitely a good thing to have around. One good thing to use these for when it comes to the binder specifically is putting your documents in them so when you're constantly turning the pages, they're not going to get torn or ruined or anything like that. You definitely want to preserve the quality of the paperwork that you're having in here because it is medical information. It's very important, and chances are you'll be flipping through it from time to time. So you really want to make sure they're protected by using these sheets. I am personally going to start in the section that I have. It's towards the back, but I'm going to start at it first, and it is all the specialties that he goes and sees. All the physicians that we see on a regular basis, semi-regular basis, or as needed. I again put these in alphabetical order for me, so I know where they are. You can do whatever one you want. I'm going to get started with this. That'll clear out probably 80% of the paperwork that I have on my table. Give me a cleaner workspace, which always makes me a happy girl. So as I'm starting to do this, I am realizing a couple things here. The tabs I have for my subcategories for physicians don't go all the way to the end of the sheet protectors. That being said, it's not that big of a deal to me now. It probably will start to annoy me eventually. And when it comes to the sheet protectors, there's a clear difference between the dollar store brand and the brand that is already in here, which is probably more of the, Staples brand. So more of the higher end, I guess you can say. The ones from the dollar store are very, very thin and kind of hard to get papers in because they stick to each other. It, again, is probably not going to make much of a difference when it comes to the usability of them. Just something to note when you're gathering your supplies to start this project. So one thing I'm doing here is I'm taking 2 single-sided testing documents, putting them back to back so I can put them in the individual sheet protector and be able to see both sides without having to take them out of the sheet protector to look at them or using 2 separate sheet protectors when you really could get away with using one. Let the struggle begin of these really thin sheet protectors. So one thing I'm running into here as I'm putting together the information for our dietitian is we have gone to 2 separate dietitians, one through the hospital and one through his gastroenterologist doctor. I am putting the one that we go to more frequently or more recently up front. So his old dietitian that he doesn't necessarily see anymore goes towards the back. I tend to work things as if it's chronologically, I go reverse chronological, so the more recent things are up front. Again, that's the way I do things. That's not necessarily the way you have to do things, and that's not necessarily the right way. That's just the way I prefer to do it. So I think that is it when it comes to our physicians. Now it's time to flip over and do our therapies. My developmental therapist is also so amazing and gives me ideas on things to do with my son during the week whenever we have an issue. So here is a form for therapeutic massage on infants and young children. That would be great to put in here, but I have a separate binder that I do for more everyday care for people that are watching him and can just flip open the book, and it's basically a big book of activities to do with him, and that's more something for that. I'll do a post on that completely later on. This is more just, medical things. So even though the developmental therapist gave me these, I am going to more put them towards his activity book. So there is still some organizing I need to do. I need to weed through a giant pile of papers I have here, but there's no reason to sit here and have you watch me do that. So that's probably something I'll do on my own. I have a little bit more rearranging to do with different forms. I just kind of flopped my information in here, and now I still have to rearrange some of the stuff that was already in here. I just kind of wanted to go over the bare basics because I didn't know what to do, so I figured it could benefit someone else to know what to do. I want to give a huge shout out to the Kangaroo Kids in the pouch. Without them, I don't think I would be able to put together an organized binder. I might be able to put one together, but it definitely would not be as organized and as wonderful as this. If you were looking to do a binder, I would definitely look into them, see if it's something you do have to qualify for. You have to, I believe, have it be for a kid that has some kind of special need or disability. So you do have to qualify for that. It's not just for anybody. One thing I also want to point out is putting together a binder like this is not just made for parents with children with special needs. It can be put together for anybody. I definitely would recommend any parent out there putting together some kind of, if it's not a binder, put something together where if anything were to happen, people would know how to take care of your kids. One thing that we talked about with our lawyer when we were doing our estate planning is putting together a in case of emergency or, a cheat sheet for your family. And this is kind of our cheat sheet for his medical information. It is a huge cheat sheet, but it's something that, we definitely need. And I would recommend any parent doing that. You would hate for someone to have to take care of your kids, even if it's just temporary, to not know what to do. I am definitely an overbearing parent. Call me helicopter parent, whatever you want, but I err on the side of caution, and I would rather make sure that my child is completely taken care of, even if that means a little work for me on the back end. So if there is any questions, feel free to ask me any questions. I will say that over and over again. I am always willing to help out, always willing to answer anything if you have anything. Again, thank you so much, Kangaroo Kids, for your pouch. It is absolutely amazing, and I would highly recommend it for everybody. Thank you for taking your time with me, and I hope that this is helpful to you into putting together something for you to make your life a little more organized.